great to have you here this afternoon. We're in Nashville for Create, the Emerging Restaurateurs Conference. I have the great privilege of meeting Chris Porcelli.
If you're feeling Italian, yeah, we can go with Porcelli.
And how do you pronounce it?
It depends on how much wine I've had, but usually Porcelli. Again, yeah, more wine, it gets a little more Porcelli of that Italian part. But no, thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, my background, growing up on Long Island, Irish-Italian family. We're all still really close. My brothers moved down to North Carolina, my parents in North Carolina. I moved down to Atlanta for the job with Walk-Ons. Loving it down there. I miss them, my little niece, and we're all still really close. It was fun growing up.
Prior to Walk-Ons, you were with Mako.
Yes, it's company-driven brands out of Charlotte. So I actually started my career in accounting. I have a master's in taxation, which thank God I've never had to use. Still have my CPA, but I had that traditional accounting background, and so when I started at Driven, I was in their accounting department. And then I've always wanted to get into operations, and so I joined Mako right around COVID. I was originally the VP of Strategy and Analytics. Then I was the Senior Vice President of Franchise Administration, and then ultimately the Chief Operating Officer. And so the Walk-Ons opportunity to me was tremendous. It's such a great brand with a great story. Hospitality and kind of the crossover from automotive to hospitality, we talked about that earlier. It's all needs-based. Again, nobody wants to get their car hit, but when they do, you want to make sure that you're providing the easiest guest experience and that they're choosing you. And so with the food side, right, everyone's got to eat. And so how do they choose you? How to have that affinity to your brand? More importantly, how do you take care of that guest and that guest experience? And so there's a lot of crossover there, especially in the franchising world. And so we have some corporate restaurants, but we're mostly franchised. And so it's been an awesome journey so far for a year. And then recently in the CEO seat, I have a wonderful team, a talented people. It's a great business. The board's great. Our founder's amazing. And so I'm having the most fun in my entire life. It really is the best job in the world.
How many units of Walk-Ons are there now? How many are corporate? And how many are, how many states are you in?
Yeah, so we're in 15 states. We have about 80 restaurants, about 6 or 7 corporate. And we're actually building more corporate restaurants. So we are rolling out. We've been working on a new prototype for about the last year or so, and so we're actually going to build that prototype in Atlanta, where we've moved our headquarters to. We're going to build 2 of those from the ground up, and then a second gen. And I'm really, really excited about it. It's taking what makes Walk-Ons great, and sort of helping out the team members in the heart of the house, from new equipment, new technology, making their lives easier, improving the consistency of the food that comes out for our guests. And then my whole thing is just for us to own game day, right? To own that game day experience and that energy when you come in. And so I'm trying not to call them restaurants, we're calling them arenas. For me as a kid, I remember in Long Island, huge Islanders fan, and so Nassau Coliseum, my dad take me and my brother and my mom to games, and you kind of go through the tunnel, and they're like, what's going on? You hear the noise going back there, and you step through and you see the scoreboard and the ice, and you're like, wow, this is something here. And so trying to get that same energy and that feel through the design and that new prototype, I'm incredibly excited to roll that out.
Currently, they have like 68 to 70 televisions in each of the units, right?
Yeah. We have about, on average, I believe it's 70 televisions.
And is that changing in the new prototype?
No, we're keeping the same amount of TVs. For us, we want to own that game day. We want that sports enthusiast to know we are the best place, not only to watch the game, but to have the best food. So our food's from scratch. It's one of the better meals you're going to get in the space, and so being able to provide where you can watch all the games, go there with your friends, have a good meal, have the drinks, and then also for families. I think what really drew me to Walk-Ons is, we're that family-friendly sports bar. There are plenty of other brands out there that appeal to a different side of it, shall we say. And then there's other ones where maybe the food and the quality, it's frozen and it's, your typical bar food. And so it's provided a tremendous opportunity for us to appeal to all those guests. And so when you go into a Walk-Ons, you'll see all kinds of people, right? From on a Sunday, like I use that example, the guys at the bar getting ready for the game. You got the group that just came out of church. You got the family that just came from the T-ball game, and we want to appeal to all those people. And so providing that experience for them is crucial for us. So
since the COVID pandemic, you guys have done a lot of sales off-premise.
Yeah.
You were here talking about off-premise.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenge for a casual dining chain like Walk-Ons in the off-premise arena?
Yeah, I think for us as we continue to grow and expand, that guest interaction, getting the walk-ons name out there. And so if their first experience with us is through one of those apps, again, our food, a lot of our items on the menu are fried, and that doesn't really travel well. So we spend a ton of time and a ton of research around the packaging, making sure that those items show up to that guest and they're still really good. So adding the fence, adding the branding to it. So I think the biggest challenge for us is making sure that you're spending a little bit more money for that convenience, but how do I still deliver on that value and that experience of quality food that's showing up and people then want to go into the restaurant, right? They may not have heard of us before using it.
Right.
And so now they're like, hey, I got to give this a shot. I didn't realize that was that close. And so it's been, I don't want to say a challenge, but we've just started doing this about 18 months ago, so less than 2 years, and to grow it to about 14% of our business. I'm incredibly proud of the work that's gone into it, and we're continuing to invest not only in the technology side, but more importantly in the training. So in restaurant, our team members that are working in there, making their lives easier, making sure that they have a way to do that. Again, in that new prototype, having that designated kind of center right off the kitchen so the food comes out hot. You have a designated kiosk for the delivery drivers, making their lives easier. So designated spots, they come in, they know how to get it, the food stays hot. And so really making that a frictionless process is where we're going.
And tell me if I'm wrong, you're seeing off-premise go to about 20% eventually?
I think so. I think that's probably the sweet spot for us and really around catering too. Our whole thing around like owning game day, right? We're a local. Our most successful franchisees, and certainly at our corporate restaurants, is really being a part of the local community. And so making sure that T-ball team knows that you can cater to those events, and the local football team and partnering with them. And so that catering aspect is super interesting to me. I think we can continue to grow that and do it the right way, and so we're investing in those channels.
And speaking of doing it the right way, packaging.
Yeah.
You said that was a big part of the hurdle that you overcame. What did you do? What did Walk-Ons do in the area of packaging?
Yeah, we tried them all. We tried them all. We there's a lot of cool, neat things out there, and so figuring out physically what does it look like, how does it feel, and then the branding that we can put on it, right? Making sure that again, there's a marketing aspect to that off-premise, but really, how far does it travel well, right? Can it go 5 miles? Is it 10 miles? And putting that fence around to make sure that food that shows up is not cold, it's not soggy. So we kind of limit how far we'll go with it, just because there's only so long it will stay hot in there. And so doing a lot of testing, worked through a lot of vendors, came up, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, coming into the office and seeing, them taken from one of the restaurants in Atlanta and delivering it to our corporate office and seeing this spread out there and going, which one tastes better. And so there's a lot of boots on the ground effort in there.
And also for the third-party apps, the marketplaces, photography is so important.
Yes.
So one of the things that came up in our session today was how important photography is. What does Walk-Ons do in that area?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've invested in the technology to make sure that it's a seamless process from same POS system that we have in the restaurants to what ends up on the menu for these platforms. The other thing that we do is the pictures of the food. Again, put yourself in the user, right, or the guest that's ordering on there. You're scrolling through and you're like, what looks good, right? What is it? Oh, that burger looks really good, and not taking a stock image or something that's old, or not having pictures on all of the menu items. I don't know about you, if you ever used any of these things and you're kind of scrolling through and you're like, oh, that's weird. It's just a blank X or something, or like, I guess it's not that good, right? People go towards that. So having the right pictures, investing in the right photography for that is super critical. I think the one phrase in there that I like was people eat with their eyes, right, first. And so making sure you invest in that is key.
What's the one thing that people could do to increase their off-premise sales?
It's a great question. I think you have to just make it a priority for your team members. Again, for the new one rolling out where it's dedicated, that's already going to be in there. But for an existing restaurant, if you're just starting out, how is that going to work for your team members? What is that experience like for the delivery driver? And so, are you making sure that they're trained up on what to do, right? And making sure that it's not stacking up in the kitchen, or who's got to run back and forth, or people standing around. And so be really thoughtful in the operational playbook behind it, and then invest in the training. That's the key piece.
Well, Chris, thank you for spending time with us today.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And congratulations on Walk-Ons.
Thank you very much. Yeah, awesome.